In the silent depths of the soul's ancient archives, there lies a story long buried beneath the layers of time and forgotten memories, an account of a life that quietly shaped an entire family's fate, yet remained hidden from view. The records of Akashic energies whisper of unresolved karma, echoes from a past civilization, steeped in Atlantis' fall, haunting generations with unresolved wounds and ancestral patterns. As the veils between worlds thin, the soul awakens, guided by visions and synchronicities that beckon it to confront shadows long cast in the darkness. Through this journey of revelation and forgiveness, the soul begins to access the mystical depths of the Akashic records, seeking balance and liberation. What was once hidden in the shadows now emerges into the light, revealing a profound truth. The power to transform destiny lies within the sacred memory of the soul's eternal voyage, waiting to be uncovered and healed. In the quiet depths of the soul's eternal archives, where the whispers of past lives echo through the corridors of time, there lies a story hidden, one that reveals the silent burden carried by a single soul, yet influencing the entire lineage of a family. The records of Akashic energies, as I have often observed in my visions, serve as a sacred mirror, reflecting the unresolved lessons absorbed in the depths of countless incarnations. The journey between worlds, between the veil of forgetfulness and the remembrance of truth, leads us to uncover these forgotten pasts, buried beneath layers of karma and ancestral memory. The soul, in its divine longing for growth and balance, is often compelled to revisit these shadows, to bring light into darkness, and to heal old wounds that continue to ripple through generations. As the records reveal, the past is not merely a distant memory, but a living force that influences the present, shaping destinies subtly but profoundly. It is within this sacred record that we find the story of a lifetime long concealed, an existence marked by unresolved conflicts, silent sacrifices, and a heavy burden of karma that quietly weaves itself into the fabric of family history. To understand this hidden past, we must first acknowledge that the soul's journey is one of continual evolution, seeking harmony and enlightenment through the cycles of incarnation. The records tell us that in a distant and forgotten civilization, Atlantis, there was a soul whose actions, thoughts, and choices left an indelible imprint. This soul, burdened by pride, fear, and a desire for control, engaged in pursuits that disrupted the delicate balance of that advanced society. The fall of Atlantis was not merely a cataclysm of land and stone, but a spiritual upheaval rooted deeply within the collective consciousness. The energies from that epoch carry forward, subtly influencing the descendants who carry the karmic echo of those ancient events. The records reveal that this soul, during that fateful era, was entwined with a pattern of unresolved karma, acts committed in ignorance, decisions driven by ego, and a refusal to honor higher divine laws. These unresolved debts did not simply vanish with the sinking of Atlantis. Instead, they became embedded within the soul's karmic ledger, waiting across lifetimes to be addressed and healed. The soul's efforts to escape or forget these shadows only deepened their influence, manifesting in subtle ways, patterns of fear, guilt, or unexplainable suffering that quietly affect current family dynamics. The soul burdened by such unresolved karma does not merely carry personal pain. It influences the entire lineage, parents, children, grandchildren, each inheriting fragments of this spiritual inheritance. The silent weight of these past mistakes often manifests as inherited fears, recurring conflicts, or unspoken guilt that silently shape the choices and experiences of subsequent generations. The records emphasize that it is through conscious awareness, compassion, and forgiveness that these ancestral wounds can be transformed, breaking the cycle and restoring balance. As the records disclose, the key to uncovering this hidden past lies in the deep introspection of the present, the willingness to confront inner shadows with honesty and humility. Through prayer, meditation, and a sincere desire for truth, the soul can access the Akashic archives, that sacred library of all knowledge and experience accumulated across eternity. It is in these hallowed records that the true story emerges, an account of a life long gone yet never truly lost, its echoes still resonating through the family line. In these revelations, we understand that the soul's journey is not merely about individual growth, but also about collective healing. The unresolved karma of one life, when left unaddressed, becomes a silent architect of the future, shaping the circumstances and challenges faced by loved ones. The records guide us to recognize that healing begins with awareness, acknowledging the past not with guilt, but with compassion and understanding. For it is only through forgiveness, both of oneself and of those from the past, that the soul can shed these burdens and step into a higher state of consciousness. The records also reveal that the forgotten lifetime often involved choices rooted in fear and separation from divine truth. The soul, in that ancient era, may have felt isolated from divine guidance, driven by ego's illusions, and disconnected from the awareness of its divine origins. These patterns, once set in motion, continue to influence the present, manifesting in fears of abandonment, feelings of unworthiness, or the inability to fully express love and compassion. Yet, within the depths of the records, there is also hope, a promise of redemption and transformation. The soul's desire for balance and healing can transcend generations, weaving a new tapestry of understanding and harmony. When the family consciously recognizes these hidden influences and works to forgive and release the old wounds, they align themselves with the higher energies of the divine plan. As the soul seeks to reconcile with its past, it begins to rewrite its destiny, aligning more fully with the divine purpose for which it was created. In the sacred process of uncovering the forgotten lifetime, we must remember that the soul's true nature is pure, eternal, and divine. The burdens of unresolved karma are illusions, shadows cast by incomplete understanding. The records teach us that divine grace and love are always available to those who seek them. Through humility, prayer, and a sincere desire for truth, the burdens of the past can be lifted and the soul can step into its rightful light. Thus, the hidden past, long buried beneath layers of time and forgetfulness, comes into view not to condemn but to heal. It reveals the intricate dance of karma and free will, illustrating that even the deepest wounds can be transformed through divine mercy and conscious effort. The soul's journey is one of continual evolution, and in uncovering these forgotten lifetimes, we find the keys to liberation and renewal, guiding us back to the divine essence that resides within each of us, waiting patiently to be remembered and embraced. In this sacred unveiling, the family's destiny is forever altered, not by fate alone, but by the conscious choices made in the present to heal the past. The records of Akashic energies whisper the eternal truth, that within the sacred memory of the soul's voyage lies the power to unlock the divine within, to heal the wounds of Atlantis and beyond, and to forge a future rooted in love, understanding, and spiritual mastery. In the quiet unfolding of the soul's sacred journey, there comes a moment, a threshold, where the veils between the seen and unseen begin to dissolve. The records reveal that such moments are not mere coincidences, but sacred synchronizations, divine signals guiding the seeker toward awakening. As the archaeologist of spiritual mysteries, I have observed that it is within these serendipitous alignments that the soul's deeper truths begin to emerge, whispering of its eternal voyage across the tapestry of multiple lifetimes. The protagonist, having delved into the depths of ancestral wounds, those echoes from Atlantis, begins to experience a series of profound synchronicities. These are not random, but carefully orchestrated glimpses into the soul's eternal dance through time. One evening, as the fading light of day yields to the whispering dark, a series of visions unfolds. They come as flashes, images, symbols, sensations that stir the very core of the being. The soul recognizes them as more than dreams. They are invitations from the Akashic records, echoes of its past, present, and potential futures. In these visions, the seeker sees herself walking through ancient civilizations, Atlantean temples shimmering with sacred light, Egyptian pyramids rising majestically from the sands, and glimpses of lives lived in distant lands and eras. The records reveal that the soul's journey is a continuum, an ongoing quest to seek understanding and harmony across countless incarnations. As Cayce's teachings illuminate, each incarnation serves as a chapter in the soul's pilgrimage, an opportunity for growth, forgiveness, and divine realization. The visions deepen, revealing a recurring motif, the desire to attain a state of divine unity, or what Cayce often called the consciousness Christica. This is the soul's ultimate goal, to remember its divine origin and to embody love, compassion, and wisdom in every lifetime. Yet, within these ancient scenes, the seeker also perceives the unresolved karma and fears that have tethered her to cycles of pain and limitation. These are the remnants of Atlantis, fragmented memories of a civilization that once held great spiritual power, but fell into chaos and darkness, dragging its remnants across the ages like shadows, haunting the corridors of the subconscious. But the records also reveal that the soul's journey through multiple lifetimes is not one of mere repetition, but of progression, a spiral upward toward enlightenment. Reincarnation, as Cayce taught, is a sacred gift that allows the soul to learn, heal, and evolve. It is a divine opportunity to correct past imbalances and to embody higher states of consciousness. The visions serve as a reminder that the soul's quest is ongoing. Each lifetime is a step closer to awakening the divine within. As the visions fade, the seeker feels an overwhelming sense of recognition, an awakening to the truth that she is a timeless being, an aspect of the divine that has traversed eons. The realization is profound. Her current struggles are not isolated, but interconnected with the larger tapestry of her soul's incarnations. The records emphasize that understanding this interconnectedness is essential for genuine healing. When we recognize our past lives and the karma carried within them, we gain the power to transmute pain into wisdom and limitations into opportunities for growth. The teachings of Cayce echo clearly. The soul seeks balance through awareness and forgiveness. The visions serve as a catalyst, urging her to remember that she has the divine ability to heal old wounds, both personal and ancestral, and to break free from cycles that no longer serve her highest good. The soul's journey across multiple lifetimes is, therefore, a sacred dance of remembering, reclaiming divine attributes that have been obscured by fear, ignorance, and unresolved karma. In this sacred awakening, the seeker begins to comprehend that her incarnations are not isolated chapters, but interconnected threads woven into the fabric of her divine purpose. Each lifetime offers lessons of love, patience, humility, and compassion. The records reveal that these lessons are designed to bring the soul into alignment with its higher self, guiding it toward the realization of its divine nature. The visions also awaken a deeper understanding of the importance of the soul's intentional focus. As Cayce often advised, the soul must consciously choose to remember its divine origins and to align with the truth of unity. Through meditation, prayer, and inner reflection, the seeker can access the Akashic records more readily, gaining insights into past incarnations, karma, and the divine blueprint written within her soul. This awakening is not merely intellectual but experiential, a profound shift in consciousness. It is the recognition that the soul's journey is sacred and that every experience, every challenge, is an opportunity for divine growth. The records reveal that the soul's ultimate aim is to embody the Christ consciousness, a state of divine love and harmony that transcends individual identities and unites all within the one true source. As the protagonist moves forward from this sacred revelation, she feels a renewed sense of purpose and hope. The visions have opened her eyes to the timeless nature of her being and the infinite possibilities that lie ahead. The journey through Atlantis and beyond has prepared her to embrace her divine potential fully in this life and all others. The soul's quest for awakening is an ongoing pilgrimage, one that leads back to its divine home, where love, forgiveness, and understanding reign supreme. In the sacred archives of the universe, it is written that the soul's journey across multiple lifetimes is a sacred unfolding, a divine dance of remembrance and realization. The synchronicities and visions serve as guiding stars, illuminating the path back to the divine within. The records reveal that each step taken in awareness, each act of forgiveness, and each expression of love brings the soul closer to the eternal harmony it seeks, a harmony that echoes from Atlantis to eternity. And so the seeker steps forward, guided by the ancient wisdom that resides within her and the divine light that beckons from beyond. Her awakening is but the beginning of a profound journey, a return to the divine origin from which she has always come. In the sacred silence of the soul's ongoing journey, the divine whispers grow louder as unresolved wounds surface from the depths of the subconscious. The records reveal that as the seeker advances along her spiritual path, drawing closer to the Christ consciousness, she inevitably encounters the shadow within her as well as the shadows inherited through the intricate web of her familial lineage. These shadows are not mere remnants of personal pain, they are echoes of ancient karma, woven into the fabric of collective consciousness, echoing from the lost civilizations of Atlantis. The soul, in its divine quest for wholeness, must confront these unresolved fragments. The records speak of a time when Atlantis flourished, a civilization of great knowledge and spiritual potential, yet one that succumbed to hubris and material excess. When Atlantis fell into chaos and destruction, the collective consciousness of that era fractured, leaving behind a residue of karma that would ripple through time into generations yet unborn. As the soul awakens to its divine origin, it begins to see the mirror of these ancestral patterns reflected within. The unresolved wounds, fears, guilt, shame, and self-judgment rise to the surface like dark clouds before a spiritual dawn. It is as if the very fabric of her being is being pulled from her, exposing the raw, tender scars of her ancestral lineage, scars rooted in the fall of Atlantis and reinforced through centuries of familial and collective trauma. The records reveal that these wounds often manifest as familial patterns, repetitive behaviors, ingrained fears, and unspoken secrets that perpetuate a cycle of suffering. For example, a fear of abandonment may be traced back to a time when Atlantis was engulfed in chaos and loved ones were lost to the depths of the sea or to the chaos of societal collapse. These patterns are not random. They are the echoes of ancient karma seeking resolution. In confronting these shadows, the seeker must first acknowledge their existence. This requires a deep inner honesty, a willingness to face the parts of herself she has long avoided. Through meditation and prayer, the soul reaches into the records Akashic, where all knowledge of past, present, and potential futures resides. There, it is revealed that these wounds are not punishments, but opportunities for healing, a chance to transmute karma into wisdom. The journey into the shadow self is profoundly sacred, for it illuminates the pathways that lead back to divine wholeness. As the soul delves into her familial patterns, she begins to see that her personal struggles are intertwined with those of her ancestors. The records teach that the fall of Atlantis was not merely a historical event, but a spiritual catastrophe, a rupture in the collective consciousness that continues to influence the present. This collective karma manifests through inherited fears, limiting beliefs, and subconscious blocks that hinder spiritual progress. In this confrontation, the soul must embody compassion, not only for herself, but for her lineage. She must recognize that the wounds carried within are not her fault, but are part of a larger cosmic tapestry woven with divine purpose. The soul's task is to bring awareness and love into these hidden places, allowing the divine light to dissolve the darkness. As the soul begins to integrate these shadow aspects, she recognizes a profound truth. The divine potential within her is greater than any inherited pain. The records reveal that the awakening of Christ consciousness is the key to transcending these ancient patterns. When the soul aligns with this divine state, embodying unconditional love, forgiveness, and compassion, it begins to break free from the chains of ancestral karma. The process of shadow confrontation is, in truth, the journey towards divine sovereignty. It is a sacred alchemy, transforming the lead of unresolved wounds into the gold of spiritual enlightenment. The records affirm that this alchemy is possible because of the divine spark within every soul, a spark that predates Atlantis and persists through every incarnation. In embracing her shadow, the seeker awakens to her true divine nature. She recognizes that her pain and wounds are not punishments but sacred messengers, guides pointing her toward her next step in evolution. She understands that the collective consciousness is likewise evolving, shedding the remnants of Atlantis's fall and embracing a new era of awakening. The records reveal that as this individual soul heals her ancestral wounds, she also contributes to healing the collective consciousness, a ripple effect extending beyond her personal journey. Her courage to face the shadow empowers others, creating a sacred lineage of awakening that transcends time and space. In the sacred dance of remembrance and rebirth, the soul learns that confronting the shadow is not an end, but a beginning, the threshold through which divine light enters to illuminate the depths of her being. It is in this sacred confrontation that she reclaims her power, her divine heritage, and her eternal purpose. Thus, the journey into the shadow is not a descent into despair, but an ascent into divine truth. It is a sacred act of remembrance, a sacred act of love, where the soul, once lost in the darkness of Atlantis' fall, rises anew, embodying the luminous Christ consciousness that has always dwelled within. And in this awakening, she becomes a beacon of hope for the collective, guiding all toward the dawn of a new consciousness, free from the shadows of the past. In the silent chambers of the soul, where the echoes of ancient times reside, the journey toward divine awakening continues. The records reveal that as the soul endeavors to transcend the shadows inherited from Atlantis, it must first gain conscious access to the vast repositories of universal knowledge, the Akashic records. These sacred archives are not merely distant memories stored in cosmic files, but living threads woven into the fabric of existence, waiting for the seeker to unlock their mysteries. As an archaeologist of spiritual truths, I have studied the depths of Cayce's readings, and in them the divine wisdom unfolds, guiding us to understand that the soul's primary purpose is to seek harmony, forgiveness, and balance. It is through this conscious access that the soul begins to comprehend its divine origin, its purpose in this incarnational voyage, and the lessons it must embrace to evolve beyond the cycles of karma. The Bas. Records reveal that in the beginning there was a divine unity, a state of pure consciousness where the soul existed in harmony with all that is. However, as the soul descended into the material plane, it encountered the distortions of duality and separation. The echoes of Atlantis, the ancient civilization steeped in both brilliance and hubris, imbued collective karma that still reverberates through the corridors of the soul's memory. These remnants of unfinished lessons have created patterns of pain, guilt, and separation that the soul now seeks to transcend. The critical awakening occurs when the soul consciously chooses to access the Akashic records, for within them lies the key to understanding its true purpose. The records are not separate from us, but are an extension of our higher consciousness, an infinite library that contains the history of all incarnations, all choices, and the lessons learned across time. To access them consciously is to step into the role of the divine archivist, acknowledging that the answers to our deepest questions are already written within. Guided by the insights from Cayce's readings, we understand that the act of opening the records begins with intention, an earnest desire to seek truth and healing. The soul must prepare itself through meditation, aligning with the Christ consciousness, the divine spark within that seeks unity, forgiveness, and unconditional love. This alignment awakens the inner vision, enabling us to perceive the records not as distant archives, but as living holograms that respond to our focused consciousness. As the soul begins to access these sacred archives, it encounters the stories of past incarnations, each a fragment of the greater divine mosaic. The records reveal the lessons learned and the lessons still to be learned. They unveil the karma, both personal and collective, that has tethered the soul to cycles of suffering and separation. It is here that the soul recognizes its role in maintaining or breaking these cycles. In this sacred act of revelation, the soul begins to understand that forgiveness is not merely a moral act, but a necessary step to reclaim sovereignty over its spiritual destiny. The records emphasize that forgiveness is the key to unlocking the chains of past karma. It is a divine act of love, an acknowledgement that all experiences, even those born of mistakes or misdeeds, are opportunities for growth and understanding. The records also reveal that balance is essential, an inner harmony that aligns the soul's divine purpose with its earthly expression. This balance is achieved through self-awareness, compassion, and the willingness to transmute pain into wisdom. As the soul seeks forgiveness, both of itself and others, it releases the heavy burdens of guilt and shame, paving the way for renewal. The process of accessing the Akashic records consciously is not without its challenges. The ego's fears, doubts, and attachments can obscure the higher vision. Yet Cayce's teachings remind us that the divine light within is always present, waiting patiently for the soul to turn inward and seek guidance. The records respond to sincere intentions and pure hearts, illuminating the path toward healing and liberation. Through this conscious journey, the soul begins to see the interconnectedness of all life, a reflection of the divine unity that underpins existence. It recognizes that the wounds of Atlantis, the collective karma of ages past, are not separate from its own story, but part of the grand tapestry of divine evolution. The soul understands that by healing its own scars, it contributes to the collective upliftment, an act that ripples through eternity. In this sacred dialogue with the records, the soul discovers that its true purpose is to embody the Christ consciousness, an awakened awareness of love, forgiveness, and unity. Such embodiment is the alchemy that transforms suffering into compassion, darkness into light, and separation into unity. It is through this alchemy that the soul begins to break free from the cycles of karma, forging a new destiny rooted in divine justice and mercy. As this revelation dawns within, the soul recognizes that its journey is ultimately one of returning to the divine source from which it emerged. The records affirm that no matter how deep the shadows of Atlantis or how tangled the karma, the divine light within is eternal and unbreakable. The soul's quest for forgiveness and balance is the sacred act that awakens the Christ consciousness within, guiding it home. Thus, in the sacred act of consciously accessing the Akashic records and understanding its purpose, the soul takes a profound step toward liberation. It embraces its divine sovereignty, heals its wounds, and aligns with the infinite flow of love and truth. The journey from darkness to light, from separation to unity, is illuminated by the divine revelations stored in the records, revelations that whisper to us across the ages. You are not alone, and your divine purpose is eternally unfolding. In this sacred knowledge, we find the hope and the power to transform ourselves and the collective consciousness, an eternal testament that the soul, guided by divine wisdom, can indeed break free from past cycles and ascend into the radiant consciousness of love and unity. In the silent depths of the records Akashicos, where the sacred echoes of all existence reside, there lies a profound truth often veiled from mortal sight. It is here, amid the infinite tapestry of souls and their intertwining destinies, that the divine power of transformation and liberation reveals itself to those who seek with sincere heart and unwavering intent. The journey of the family, as revealed through the divine insights and the divine blueprint of the soul, is a testament to the eternal cycle of death and rebirth, of karma and grace, culminating ultimately in the awakening to the Christ consciousness. The previous revelations illuminated how the soul, in its divine pursuit, seeks balance and harmony. It seeks to transcend the wounds inflicted by collective karma, to heal ancestral wounds rooted in past lifetimes, and to remember its divine origins. However, the true alchemy begins when the soul reaches a point of surrender, a surrender not of weakness but of divine strength, where the ego relinquishes its hold and the heart opens fully to the divine will. It is in this sacred act of surrender that the heavy chains of ancestral curses are loosened and the cycle of suffering begins to dissolve. The ancestral curses, as the records reveal, are often reflections of unresolved karma, ancient wounds carried across generations, cast as shadows upon the lineage. These curses are not merely words or beliefs, but energetic imprints, vibrations that seep into the collective consciousness of the family. They manifest as repeating patterns, struggles of health, relationships, financial hardship, or spiritual disconnection. Yet within these very curses lies the divine seed of potential transformation. For in the realm of the divine, nothing is fixed, everything is fluid and subject to the power of consciousness. To break free from these generational bonds, the soul must first recognize its divine sovereignty. The records emphasize that the divine within is never lost, only obscured by layers of fear and ignorance. When the family collectively awakens to this truth, the realization that their divine essence is eternal and unchangeable, they activate the first step toward liberation. The soul understands that it is not a victim of its circumstances, but a co-creator of its destiny, fashioned by the divine law of free will and divine grace. Transformation begins with spiritual surrender. This surrender is a conscious act of trusting in the divine plan, relinquishing the need to control every outcome, and allowing the divine light to penetrate even the darkest corners of the subconscious. As the family members open their hearts, They begin to release old resentments, judgments, and fears, those heavy burdens that uphold the ancestral curses. In this act of surrender, the divine energy flows freely, dissolving the karmic imprints that have long kept the lineage bound. The divine process of healing is rooted in love, unconditional, forgiving, and transcendent. The records reveal that forgiveness is not merely an act of the mind, but a sacred vibration that aligns the soul with divine harmony. When family members forgive themselves and their ancestors, they activate the Christ consciousness, the pure awareness of divine love and unity. This consciousness is the culmination of spiritual evolution, the state where duality dissolves into unity, where the individual perceives themselves as one with all of creation. As this awakening deepens, the family's collective consciousness shifts. The curse, once viewed as an unchangeable fate, begins to unravel like mist before the morning sun. The divine light within each soul ignites a chain reaction, transforming inherited patterns into opportunities for divine expression. The curse is lifted. The ancestral wounds are transmuted into blessings and lessons that propel the family forward on the spiritual path. In this sacred transformation, the soul's journey reaches its apex, culminating in the realization of the Christ consciousness. This is not merely an individual attainment, but a collective awakening that reverberates through the lineage. It is the moment when the family's collective soul recognizes its divine origin and purpose. The entire lineage, once bound by darkness, now radiates divine light, embodying love, compassion, and divine wisdom. The records reveal that this process is a divine cosmic dance, an alchemy of surrender, love, forgiveness, and divine remembrance. When the family aligns themselves with their divine blueprint, they become vessels of divine grace, capable of transforming not only their own lives, but also the fabric of collective consciousness. The power lies within each soul to choose love over fear, faith over doubt, and surrender over resistance. Ultimately, the journey culminates in the realization that the divine within each of us is the Christ consciousness, the eternal light that shines beyond the illusion of separation. When the family fully awakens to this truth, they embody the divine purpose of their existence, to serve as channels of divine love, healers of wounds, and transformers of darkness into light. In the sacred silence of the divine within, in the divine archives of the Akashicos, the message is clear. Transformation and liberation are always possible through divine surrender. The soul's journey from bondage to freedom, from curse to blessing, is an eternal testament to the infinite power of divine love and consciousness. When the family consciously aligns with this divine truth, their collective destiny is rewritten, forever changed, forever illuminated by the Christ consciousness, the divine light that eternally guides and unites us all. Remember, within each of us lies an eternal seed of divine light, capable of transforming the shadows of ancient Atlantis and breaking free from the cycles of karma that have long held our lineage captive. The records reveal that by embracing forgiveness, surrendering ego, and consciously awakening to our higher purpose, we can heal not only ourselves, but also the collective consciousness of our families and ancestors. This sacred journey invites us to step into the fullness of our divine sovereignty, rewriting our destiny with love, compassion, and divine wisdom. So I ask you now, share your insights below. Subscribe to continue this awakening and spread this sacred message, because together we hold the keys to unlocking our highest potential and guiding humanity back to the divine light within us all.